Well, hey guys, Wayne Fillmore, and it is 6:50 in the morning. I was up and was just doing some deducting and some thinking, and I figured I would just document my thoughts on what I have been thinking about. And so I've been getting into deductive reasoning, inductive reasoning, abduction, circumstantial evidence, direct evidence, basically retraining the way how I think and trying to the best of my abilities to figure out what line of reasoning homicide detective, forensic scientists, and or investigators use so they can solve cases. I notice a lot of Christians, they are not very good at making rational conclusions. A lot of times when I had conversations with people who do have some sort of faith, and we start talking about either science or historical evidence or documentation or how to properly examine clues or evidence, it seems as if they don't have the right mindset. And I honestly wouldn't say it's altogether their faults because a lot of times Christians and or other religious people, they get taught everything they know from the pulpit or from at home. And sorry to say, if you're getting taught science from the pulpit, it's probably not science because, well, fundamental pastors nowadays are anti-science. Younger creationists, anti-Big Bang, anti-evolution, anti-secular mainstream science. And so if you have a community of people who are going against the scientific community, uh, I can guarantee you that those people, that population or that community does not know how to properly think because they don't know how science works. It's not because they don't know uh, the evidence the scientific community has. Like I know, for example, with our people in the great debate community, right? True empiricism, G-Man, uh, the other guy, Antonio, even though I don't really think I don't really consider him in the great debate community. He's more like a moderator. But we have people in that community who know the evidence, right, of the opposing view, evolution. They know about human chromosome too, but they do not know how it functions. They do not know the methodology behind the scientific method. They don't know how we come to these conclusions. They know that the scientific consensus of the modern era is that the universe is 14.6 billion years old and that we have been in the process of evolution for the last 4.6 billion years. But they do not know how that scientific consensus was formed. And so because they don't know how science works, um, they obviously are coming to the wrong conclusion. And in the same way, a lot of Christians and a lot of religious people don't know how to properly reason and how to properly deduct from the evidence that's in front of them. And so they come to bad conclusions. Sherlock Holmes actually has this saying. He said to Watson, he asked him, he said, Watson, how many steps do you have to go up before we get our apartment? And Watson said, I don't know. And Sherlock says, you've been living here for so long and you don't know how many steps lead up to your apartment. And Sherlock says, see, that's the difference between you and me. You see, but I both see and I observe. And I have a saying that goes like this: it's hard to find something you aren't looking for. And so we can find the most important things within the smallest observations. You know, a ketchup stain on somebody's face might tell you that somebody probably just had a cheeseburger a couple minutes ago. You smell some meat on their clothes, and maybe they have a bag of Burger King or something like that, or some McDonald's, you can deduct from the evidence that, hey, this guy had a cheeseburger from McDonald's, um, or Burger King. I said Burger King. Um, so basically, the whole point, in case they just hang out, is, like I said, I just want to just record some of my thoughts, and I was making some deductions and on my computer. So there's two lines of reasoning. There is deductive reasoning and inductive reasoning, or some people can even say you can make deductions and you can make inferences, and they're two different things. When you make a deduction is more of like general information to specifics. Uh, and when you make an inference is more of specific information to generalization. Deduction is the top-down approach, and doing an inference or induction is the bottom up approach. And so in the past, the people who wrote the Bible, they were using deduction. And so you can have one raw deduction and it can mess up your entire. So all the deductions have to be true for the conclusion to be true. But science is done off of induction, where we work from the bottom up. And so when I was making these deductions, I was basically trying to see if I can make general deductions that would get me to a specific creator, and which creator would it get me to without being biased. The general idea of God is somebody who's all powerful, all knowing, spaceless, timeless, immaterial, personal. When somebody commits a crime, commits a homicide, we're not only trying to find out how the person was murdered, but we're trying to find out who murdered this person. And also from the crime scene, we're trying to piece together what this criminal, what this murderer is like, what their personality is like, and what in the room can tell us, what in the room can we deduct this person's characteristics is like based off of what we have inside of the crime scene. And so the universe is our crime scene as people, and we use science to the best of our ability to make observations about the natural world. And one of the first things I actually deducted from these premises, or from these, I guess, characteristics of God, the general God, Christian Judeo idea God, is that if an all knowing, all powerful God really did exist, the only way you would even know he did exist is if he wanted you to know he existed. That is the only way. He knows everything. He knows what you're going to do before you even do it. And he's all powerful. So he can make it as if uh, you would not know he existed unless he wanted you to know. So that's the only way we would know, is if he wanted us to know. Now, if that's the case, if God does want us to know who he is, there should be some clues he left behind so we can know he does exist. And if we don't find these clues that lead us back to this God, then God does not want us to know he exists. So one of the things that I deducted from just the crime scene of the universe, being God's crime scene, um, is that there's 5 levels of information in the world. So I actually had this on my computer, but I'll just read them. So you have statistics, which is the lowest form of information, which is, just scrambled letters and numbers on a board. Uh, a pigeon knocking over chess pieces on the board and crapping on it. Then the level of information goes up to the second level of information, which is consentics. Then you have semantics, mathematics, and then you have epibetics. So I'm just going to skip to number 4. So number 1 is just scrambled letters, and I'm skipping to number 4. And number 4, pragmatics would just be something like a sentence saying, "Let's eat, Grandpa." And in the sentence, you will have a comma before the word grandpa. And so it would say, let's eat, grandpa, as in everybody, let's join together and let's eat a dinner. Now, we know which level of information is the highest and which is the lowest because the scrambled letters, if you change the wording or you put one letter to the left or to the right of the sentence or the formation, you wouldn't have anything greater or anything less. It wouldn't change. It wouldn't change the information in the slightest. But when you're talking about pragmatics or epibetics, a sentence like "Let's eat, Grandpa," you take the comma out, and now you have "Let's eat, Grandpa," as in let's all join together and eat Grandpa's flesh. Instead of talking about let's all join together and let's eat a meal, unless you want the meal to be Grandpa. And so we know which piece of information is the highest and which piece of information is the lowest, and we can make deductions about the information that we see in the universe, in wording, in sentences, in grammar. Take this knowledge and they try and deduct it, the human genome, genetics, biology, living organisms. But I wouldn't even do that. Um, when we look into the universe, we understand that the universe, of course, is finely tuned for life. And if you do anything to any of these gravitational or physiological constants in the universe, it'll mess up the universe so bad where it won't be sustainable for life. Now, one really good example of this is the fine tuning of dark energy. Dark energy is just, I think it makes up about like 75% of the universe. And dark energy is basically, it fills in, I guess, the space of empty matter in the universe. Uh, I can't describe it to a T. It's been a while since I looked this stuff up, since I went to astrophysics. But that's basically just like a rough draft of what it is. But of dark energy, it exceeds 10 to the 97th times uh, of the best human design we have on Earth, which is LIGO, gravitational waves. Dark energy uh, exceeds that by 10 to the 97 times. So, what does that tell us about whatever made dark energy? Well, whatever made dark energy, we know it's a whole lot smarter than us, but it's a whole lot more powerful than us too. And then at the same time, as everything is spreading out, we know is that dark energy that's making the universe accelerate. It's the dark energy in the universe, and so as everything is spreading out from the singularity, from this one point in time, we know that everything had a beginning because as you keep on moving, as everything keeps on expanding out, we can then infer that everything must have been a lot closer. And we can actually see this when we look into space as we keep on looking further and further away into the past, where we can actually see the Big Bang singularity. And from the singularity, from this point in time, when everything spans out, we know that everything was a lot closer together up and until there was nothing. And then there was something. Now, the Kalam argument is a deductive argument, and it says that everything in the universe has a beginning. Therefore, everything that has a beginning, or anything that begins to exist, um, anything that begins to exist has a creator. It has a cause. There you go. Anything that begins to exist has a cause outside of itself. And so the universe began to exist, and so whatever caused the universe had to be outside of the universe. Now, whatever made dark energy is a whole lot smarter than us, and so a whole lot more powerful than us. So whatever started the universe, whatever was the cause of the universe, was the same cause for that dark energy, and it had to be smarter than us, and it had to be more powerful than us. But also, because there was no universe, that thing that caused dark energy and caused the universe not only had to be all powerful and not only had to be all knowing, but it had to be spaceless and timeless and material. So we can deduct that the cause of the universe was very smart, um, was very powerful. It doesn't have a physical body. It's not a physical entity. It's spaceless. It's timeless. Meaning it's ageless. Um, so meaning it must have existed forever. Because it didn't have a cause. Because there wasn't any space time. It was infinite, which we can't even really comprehend it because infinite goes on forever. And these are just deductions from the universe. But what else can the universe tell us about the cause of the universe? Well, the universe, in fact, can tell us um, some more things. Now, this all powerful, all knowing, spaceless, timeless, cemetery being. If he's all powerful, there's some things also we can relate from a crime scene to the universe. When we look at different crime scenes and investigations, um, we not only look at what the criminal did do, but we also look at what the criminal didn't do because that tells us about the characters. Look into a crime scene and we see that the criminal could have gotten a gun, but he actually got a knife instead and he stabbed the victim and he could have gotten a gun at any point in time, then you're probably looking at somebody that's psychotic in nature and enjoys taking their time, slowly murdering his victims. They enjoy it. In the same way, God could have made the universe in an instant because he's all powerful and all knowing, but that's not what we see in the universe. We see a universe that took billions and billions of years to form. We see a universe where it took us 4.6 billion years to evolve. So what does that mean about this all powerful God? Well, it's not that he needed to take this time to make it, but in fact, he wanted to. This God, if that's what you would posit, this calls the universe. Um, he took this long, or I would say it took this long to form uh, biological beings with the highest form of consciousness. And with that being said, like I said in the beginning, an all-knowing, all-powerful God uh, would not um, what's the word? I don't think I had this written down. Yeah, the only way you would know if this all powerful, all knowing God existed is if he wanted you to know he existed. How could you know God exists if you didn't have the consciousness um, to know he existed? And so, for this reason, it's reasonable to believe, it's reasonable to deduct that this caused the universe uh, waited 4.6 billion years to form the highest form of consciousness, not because he needed to, but he wanted to. Why? Well, I think it's easy to deduct that the cause universe of God waited so long because he, in fact, wanted to reveal himself to people. And so that's all the natural world can tell us about this cause of the universe. If there's a God, uh, he fine-tuned the universe and he did it in his he created the universe in a way that we could find out who he is. And he also waited as long as he did so he could form the first, well, not the first, but the highest conscious life forms to reveal himself to us. Because, of course, the only way we will know if this God existed is if, in fact, he wanted us to know he existed. And he would have to reveal himself to us so we can actually find that out. So that's basically what I've been deducting. And my inference is this God um, did reveal himself to us. I mean, uh, the God of the Bible, the God of Christianity, it seems, and this is not me forcing it, but the God of the Bible is the only God that has revealed himself to humanity in the person of Jesus Christ. That's what the Christians go around claiming and saying. And it's to a T. Those are just the things I've been deducting. And that's pretty strange. wasn't really expecting that when I was deducting this earlier tonight. But I had thought about that. I thought that was so weird. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I already made some videos talking about my thoughts on evolution points to a specific guy, but even the generalizations of the universe leads us to a specific personal God. Because the only way we would know if some all-powerful God existed is if he revealed himself to us. So that using abductive reasoning, that actually takes the other guys out of the running, all of the guys that aren't personal, and it leaves you with the gods that are. But which of those gods revealed themselves to humanity, the highest forms of consciousness? The God of the Bible. Unless I'm missing something, and if I am, please do. Like I can always like critique. I'm just following the evidence where it leads, and oh, I would let me there. So from just me pondering on life and theology and philosophy and stuff, that is what the universe can tell us about the cause of the universe. And after you have those evidences, you have to make the best inferences to the best possibility. And though we cannot like 100% beyond a shadow of any doubt demonstrably prove a specific God's existence, we can get to a more like generalized. We can get to a general God from the evidence of the universe alone. But more and more evidence for the existence of God, the probability of a specific God goes up rather than go down. And so I would say the probability of the Christian Judeo God existing is a whole lot higher than the other gods existing. And so we have reason to believe that God exists. The Christian God exists nonetheless. I definitely would say we can know that there is a God, but to say we know who God is, I would say you do need faith for that, but you can't have a reasonable faith. You can't have good reasons to justify what you believe through induction. But when you deduct the evidence, it leaves you only with a personal God. So deduction leads you to a personal God, but induction leads you to a specific personal God. And I think that's where the evidence leads. So if you guys go watch this video and you think this is pretty interesting or I missed something or whatever, feel free to comment below.